Hi, we're Clayton Cures Volumes. My name is James. It's Tuesday, and I'm doing a tag. I haven't done a tag for a while, but I saw Book Chat with Pat doing a tag, and it looked like fun, and I started thinking about what my answers would be. You know how it is with these tags. Sometimes you first hear the prompts, you're like, I couldn't think of anything for that. And then after a while, it kind of worms its way into your consciousness, and then you're like, yeah, I could answer these. Let me do some of these tags. It looks like fun. So uh, thanks for doing this tag, Pat. And I'm going to. Oh, by the way, what is it? It's the Rock On Rap Songs book tag. Rock On Rap Songs book. I don't know. They're titles of popular music numbers of the last few decades, uh, tied with book prompts. So I thought I'd do it. Anyway, and it was created by Nicole's Bookish Nook. Thank you, Nicole. Um, so here we go. Question number one. It's a Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z. There was also a Broadway musical number from the great musical Annie of the same name. Of course, that was sampled by Jay-Z. Anyway, a fiction or nonfiction book about an orphanage, a poor family, or an orphan. Okay, so one that I read recently. I talked about this last week. Berlin by Jason Lutz has a poor family, the Bronze, without spoiling too much of it. One of the characters becomes effectively orphaned. One parent does die. Another becomes a literal Nazi. And there's a lot of struggle on the part of everyone. So I will say Berlin by Jason Lutz. It's a graphic novel. It's fantastic. I talked about it more in my Friday Reads last week. Let's see. Number two, Walk This Way by Aerosmith, featuring Run DMC. I mean, okay. A favorite book of yours that blends genres. Oh, I think I see what they're doing. Okay, so I have Also a Poet by Ada Calhoun. This is a combination of a biography of her father and also a biography of Frank O'Hara, the American poet. And it's also a memoir by Ada Calhoun of growing up the daughter of the famous art critic Peter Sheldall. I listened to this on audiobook. It's read by the author who does a great job, and one of the stories of this is that her father Peter Sheldall had been contracted to write a biography of the poet Frank O'Hara and collected a number of interviews on cassette tape. In planning for that, interviews with people who knew Frank O'Hara personally, and but he never actually wrote this biography. So some of the audiobook is actually record these old tape recordings of Sheldall interviewing famous artists like Larry Rivers and people like that. Anyway, it was a very good book and blends a few different genres. Let's see, what else do we have? Just Lose It by Eminem. A book you think is funny or ridiculous in a bad way. I did a review earlier this year of Call of the Canyon by Zane Grey. A bit ridiculous in a bad way. I wouldn't say it was I wouldn't say it was a good book. The descriptions of Western landscape very good. The story a bit ridiculous. There's a very long monologue that the protagonist delivers to her New York City friends at the end that is just eye-poppingly bad. Anyway, so Call of the Canyon by Zane Grey. Let's see. Number four, Thunderstruck by AC/DC. A book that shocked you in a good or bad way. These are all recent. Well, actually, no. Okay, anyway. Let's not get off track, James. This year I read a book called Nuclear War: A Scenario by Annie Jacobsen. And that shocked me in a good and bad way. It's just a harrowing read, and if you're interested in uh, learning more about what a nuclear exchange might actually look like if one were to happen today or in the near future, um, if you if you are not if you're open to being troubled by bad dreams about nuclear destruction, give that a read. It's eye opening, and it's based on a lot of research and a lot of interviews with people who have spent their careers uh, gaming this out and thinking about what it might be like. So that's Nuclear War: A Scenario by Annie Jacobsen. Next prompt. Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses, a book about LA or a book that takes place in or around LA. I'm going to say The Tortilla Curtain by T.C. Boyle. He used to be known as T. Craigeson Boyle, but recently it seems he's T.C. Boyle. This is, like most of his novels, it's sort of a realist yet somewhat satirical novel about um, different people living in the, I guess it's the Topanga Canyon area of Los Angeles. Um, and one of them is a newspaper columnist who fancies himself a disciple of Annie Dillard and writes about the natural life of the Topanga Canyon. And then there's also a couple, a young married couple who are recent immigrants from Mexico, and the wife is pregnant, so there you get some added peril. But they are trying to make it, and they are homeless, and they're living in the canyon, kind of in a camp. Um, if you know T.C. Boyle's books, there's also a lot of other characters, and at the end there's kind of a big things all sort of come together in a catastrophic way. Um, but I enjoyed reading that. It was like 20 years ago that I read it, but it was good. Next, Gimmie All Your Lovin' by ZZ Top, your favorite romance book, or if you do not read romance, your favorite couple in any book. Any book, you say? How about not just a couple? How about 1,001 people? How about King Solomon, his 700 wives, and his 300 concubines? Think that doesn't sound romantic? Listen to what he had to say to one, or possibly a few dozen, or maybe all 1,000 of them. Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes within thy looks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead. Thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn, which came up from the washing, whereof every one bare twins, and none is barren among them. Thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, and thy speech is comely. Thy temples are like a piece of a pomegranate within thy locks. Come on, that's pretty good, right? Number 7, Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beastie Boys, a book centered around a celebration. I will pick possibly one of the wildest celebrations of all time, the unseen, undepicted, unless you watch the movie version, ceremony in the woods that sets off the action of The Crucible by Arthur Miller. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got singing, you've got dancing, they're eating beans, someone takes their clothes off, they're drinking blood, they're casting spells. It's a wild time, and look at all the stuff that comes out of it. The Crucible by Henry Miller. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. There was a guy named Dan Byrne who was a sort of a singer-songwriter, folk singer-songwriter, who had a song called "Marilyn Monroe Should Have Married Henry Miller." And at the end he says, "This is not a dig against Arthur Miller. Death of a Salesman is my favorite play. But Marilyn Monroe should have married Henry Miller, because if she did, she'd have had more fun." So anyway, Let's see. Firestarter by Prodigy, a book that has fire in the title or that has an orange/red cover. I'll give you 2 for 1. It's The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. Orange cover, fire in the title. Great book. Not a long read. Probably the favorite thing I've read by James Baldwin. I've read a couple of his novels. They're good. They're not exactly my favorite. I think I like the essays in here better. Let's see. Number 9, Humble by Kendrick Lamar, a fiction or nonfiction book that left you stunned at the audacity of the main character or the writer. Now, the main character in this may also be the writer. It's fiction, but I don't know. Anyway, what is this? It's a book that I listened to the audio on Spotify. It's called All Fours by Miranda July. I saw a movie that she made several years ago and thought it was okay. But the narrator of this story, I don't think there was a single thing she did that made any sense to me at all. All of it seemed like no real person would do that. No one would do that. A person wouldn't really do that. No. Anyway, All Fours by Miranda July. Audacious? Yeah, completely unbelievable. I would listen to it while I was walking my dog or going for a run and find myself just heavily sighing with exasperation, like, really? No one would. Okay. Anyway, there you go. Anyway, you can look up the summaries of what happens in this book. It's nuts. It's not nuts in a good way. It's nuts in a no one would do that way. I have to tag some people. I'm going to tag a handful of people, but to start off, a couple of new channels, or new to me channels. One is Griffin Simmons, new on YouTube. Says he's talking about books and music. And John at Must Read More. He's done a few very thoughtful videos. Has a nice regional Kentucky accent. Speaking of great accents, I'll also tag Book Time with Elvis and Randy Ray. I will also tag Big Hard Books and Classics, Alan. I'll tag David Wiley at David Wiley. I don't know if Jess at Stalking Kafka really does tags, but I'll tag her. And I'll tag Fiber Artsy, who's been doing a few videos pertaining to her love of Korean pop groups lately. And I will also tag Paradise Reading. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.